start cussing, and of course, that's when it starts recording. Hi,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you. Technical difficulties. Hello, everybody. Our dear
Well,
friend, technical difficulties has reared its head before we
our
even started recording.
our favorite sponsor. Okay, welcome to
It's
As the
not the
Pages
favorite.
Turn. I am Mia.
I am Madam Crystal Butterfly.
And if you hear any noise in the background, that's our our unofficial third podcast host who's gonna find his mouth duct taped pretty quick. Because he's over here trying to have an opinion or something. Anyways, so welcome to today's episode, which is a little bit of a mishmash. It is not books, it's not politics,
It's kind of,
religion in it.
yeah, we could say religion politics.
But it's actually, to be fair, I want to say that today's episode is more just, we'll call it society conscious.
Yeah, it's a society conscious episode. That's good.
And it has marketing, social, economic, supply and demand factors in it too. So we have
that FOMO thing people keep giving into that causes them to mess up.
Right. So you can tell that today we're doing a little bit of everything, and it just is what it is. But also, I was just telling Crystal, but I figured I'd just say it as we're recording because it's funny. So me and Crystal are going to be at the Spine Bookshop's AuthorCon in April. And we'll be running around doing podcasty stuff and book selling our books and all that fun stuff. So if you are in Tennessee near Smyrna, come down, say hi, come meet us. And or maybe, also feel free to bring chocolate, but like nothing spiked, please, because
regular chocolate or Indonesian coffee chocolate. I don't have a problem.
And so I was just telling Crystal, I was like, oh, because we have a narrator friend of ours, Bianca's going to be there, dressed up as a gremlin. And I was just telling Crystal, so I got this whole outfit for Halloween, right? And of course, but I was so exhausted Halloween from working that we never used any of the makeup or the costume stuff. And then on Saturday, like the day after, we were going to go to the Day of the Dead thing. Also was too tired. Kids came over. It was a whole thing. So I have all of this corpse bride makeup, veil, all this kind of stuff I was going to use for Day of the Dead, and I was like, oh, I can just use it for AuthorCon. So I'm gonna have
around a mask and a ballroom dress
with a little old thingy.
Huh? I said, I'm running around a mask and a ballroom dress, so I don't see why you can't.
So I was just telling Crystal, so we were talking about how we're going to have our table side by side. And then I was telling, the unofficial third podcast host over here who wants to start talking as we start recording that he's just going to be slave labor running around. So anyways, now you know what's
slave labor. We are paying him an experience.
Paying him. Oh, I was going to say, don't say money because...
Experience. That's what my uncle used to say back when there were sharecroppers. They weren't getting being taken advantage of. They were being paid in life experience.
Exactly. We're just increasing your life experience bar, as the D&D people would say it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so welcome to today's kind of mishmash episode. We've missed you guys. We haven't really been I've been exhausted in dealing with stuff. Crystal's been exhausted in dealing with stuff.
I have been driving myself crazy with the Blue Fire pages. Which will be available November 29th.
Nice. And I've had to push back because I was really naive. I admit it. I was hoping that I would get this Dragon Shifter book done. Actually, by today. Today was the day I set for myself. Do you see it done? No, it's not. I am at 50K though. Oh, actually, I'm at like almost 52K. So I'm getting there. I'm halfway through. But I'm basically giving myself to the end of the year. I've decided to be nice to myself. But that's what's going on my front. So now that we have checked up, let's talk about our first part of the episode today, which is probably the longer part, is about the social experiment for baby formula, which if you have not heard about this, why? How? Do you live under a rock?
Climb out from under the rock. Escape the bubble. Just stop. You got to learn about this stuff, people.
Right? Where have you been that you don't know about this? Also, why the title of this episode is The Quest for Empathy, Baby Formula, and Bear Cups. So I will say that I think me and Crystal actually, like, religiously, I want to say that, like, I'm spiritual, maybe a tiny bit agnostic. I know Crystal is Catholic. Well, like, Crystal, you go off and explain you. So
I'm Catholic and mostly spiritual at the same time.
So we bring a little bit of everything. And, my mom was an ex-Catholic. So I have some of that, residual Catholic leftover trauma, guilt trauma from there. So
basically I have her complain about all the stuff from certain Catholic churches that I don't care for, while there are others that I do deal with that actually follow the rules.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different episode.
Yeah. So I think we bring a solid amount of, interesting life experience, religious experience. And I'll also say that, like, I was raised, and one of the things I did with my kids as well is I was raised, because my mother was very, very ex-Catholic and crazy, but mostly ex-Catholic. She wanted to raise me without religion. She wanted me to choose my own religion. And so when I got older, I read parts of the Quran. I actually read the whole Bible. That's a fun read if you're a woman, let me tell you. I read right. I read Siddhartha, which, if you don't know what that is the beginning story about Buddha. And it's one of the fucking best books out there, honestly, religion wise. I fucking love that book. There's also a little bit of Hinduism. So I've kind of dipped my toes in a little bit of everything, just because obviously I'm a reader. So I'm always the person who says, you know what, if you're going to, like, learn about something, fucking deep dive and learn about it. Right. So religion is one of those subjects, like they say at the dinner table, you don't talk about religion or politics, right? Because it can be a very divisive subject, depending
on your family. Because, like, here's the thing that ironically as I was saying before technical difficulties rudely interrupted, I want to say the same way your mother had you, look at different religions and actually learn about them. We're very similar, because even though my family, yes, is Roman Catholic, on my mom's side, it's mostly Baptist, Southern Baptist. There's some anti-Baptist and a few others. My father's side is predominantly Catholic. A few people, it's other stuff, but it's predominantly Catholic. My parents and my grandmother wanted me to be more in an environment where, yes, they took me to the Catholic Church, we praised and everything else, but they also wanted me to understand other Christian churches, in addition to understanding other religions, and not sit around judging people's beliefs, but try to understand and maybe learn some things from them and be more open-minded.
Yeah. And it's very much like, when you get brought up, for a lot of people, like, I've been friends with a lot of different types of religious people. So I know people who are Mormons, who are now former Mormons or currently still Mormons. I know a lot of, like, Presbyterians, some Baptists, and I feel like I know a little bit of everybody. And a lot of people, when you're raised in one religion, I think it's hard to, like, get outside of it and look at other religions out there.
Yeah, that's true. So many of my friends, it wasn't all of them, but a bunch of my friends were desperate to try to convert me, because they decided, since I was not, because I was affiliated with the Catholic Church, they decided I was going to go to hell unless they saved my soul.
Right.
They sent me so many religious books.
Well, and it's interesting because, again, having had life experience where I've been the only person in a religious neighborhood that was not a fan of the non-religious, and also my mom was a bit of a Karen sometimes, that was its own problems. So it was, I've seen kind of both sides of what I've definitely seen what can happen if you're in like a religious area and you don't identify. I've seen that backhanded, like, what can happen if you're not with the local church, if you're not there, if you're not one of their people. And I've also seen on the other side, and this is, by the way, this is not an episode to talk shit about religion. That's not what we're doing. It's related specifically to
we don't pick on other people's religion. We have civil discussion about religion here. So if you're here to pick on anybody for believing anything, kindly leave our podcast. Make sure to leave your hate comment down below so that we can get more traction, YouTube, whatever you call it.
Yeah. And so it's like, but I will say on the other side of it, I was a huge, and I'll say this, when I was a teenager, I was not a huge Christianity fan, because as someone who is not religious, when you are raised not religious and then everything you see in our society has this Christian overtone, and there are other religions, there are so many other religions, but do you hear about paganism 24/7? No. Do you hear about Wiccanism? No. Do you hear about Druids? No. Do you hear, I mean, you barely hear about Presbyterian, you barely hear about Mormonism, depending on where you are.
Well, in your case, you barely hear about Presbyterians. I hear about them a lot, but I'm in the South.
Exactly. So it's like, it kind of depends on the area you're in. And then try talking about Islamic mosque and see how far that gets you in any conversation. So it's like, it kind of, in America, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of religions, but like, and it's funny because we're supposed to have this separation between church and state, right? We're not supposed to have Christian, like, shouldn't even say Christian overtones. We're not supposed to have a religion that dominates all the others, but we do.
Yeah, despite what the Magites may say, the founding fathers were not these big Christians trying to make Christianity stuff. We had separation of church and state because when the sounding shitheads, yes, I don't like the founding fathers, but they had a point with this. I'll side with them with this. Every time a country's dominated by a particular religion, you know they warp the faith and everything else to try to adhere to whatever political agenda they have, and it only leads to bad things. So you should really just let people worship the way they want to.
And that was part of, and what was interesting is that was based on, and some people may know this, some people may not, the tenets of separation of church and state partly were based on King Henry VIII's divorce, which I've always found the fuck
fascinating. Oh, please. You know what annoys me with the whole King Henry VIII divorce thing?
What?
Okay, you know how Catholics are. We always say divorce is for Protestants. But the Church of England says divorce is wrong. And I'm just like, whoa. That was a huge reason for our breakup. Now you're taking away our faith. We get to say that.
Contain the Catholic resentment, Crystal.
I'm not resentment. I just annoyed that I can't use the slogan anymore.
I know, right? But the other part of that, and people may not know this, is that the Quakers who had come over here as well had a lot of oppression on them from England and other places, because Quakers, by the way, were not fucking liked in good old Merry England and other places. So part of why we have this separation of church and state, yes, it has ties definitely to King Henry VIII, which is its own fascinating story, but it's also
it's called this guy was a man whore, so he decided to corrupt religion.
We're not going off on it. Calm down.
Well, it's true. It summarizes it.
King Henry VIII and Elizabeth, that's why. Don't be trying to step in on my favorite subject. Second of all, Crystal. But
your favorite subject, I love history too.
I know. Yeah, okay, see, that's our problem. We both fucking love it. So, but the Quakers, what's really at the bottom of the U.S.'s separation of church and state was actually the Quakers, because when the Quakers came over, they came over to find a place where they would not feel oppressed. And if you think about it, because I mean, how many wars did England and France and Italy and Rome, all these places went through massive uprisings over Catholicism and Protestants, right? And so
pointless wars that technically should go against their religion.
Yeah, and the Quakers were this little group that just basically got shit on constantly by everybody. And so when they came here, they were also trying to find a place where they wouldn't have to deal with that, which is why what's funny is that's why we have separation of church and state here, right? So but I don't want to get too much off topic because this could be a whole 10-hour discussion on itself, right?
Yeah, because then we'd have to get into MAGA not trying to do separation church and state, and then I'd begin this whole marketing Christianity thing. And that's we need to make an episode when we talk about that, because that is a long discussion we should probably have here.
An hour discussion. So what this brings us to today is that as somebody who, and I think, Crystal's probably seen the same thing, as somebody who was raised in this country with, if you're not religious and you see the Christian overtones and you see a lot of the hypocrisy that goes into kind of the church system. I'm not talking about the religion, the basic church system. If people do not know, in this country, and I believe it was around the Great Depression, but please correct me if I'm wrong. There was, when the government kind of crapped out, we're getting there soon. We'll be there again. History repeats itself. When the government crapped out around the Great Depression, churches were really looked at as kind of that in-between middle guy who could help the little people because, by the way, churches are everywhere. And this is why churches are tax exempt. This is why churches are nonprofits were basically created for churches because they were seen as the middle guy in the community who was supposed to help the community if the government couldn't and regular people couldn't. Churches were supposed to step in as that middle guy, right?
Yeah, which was a good thing and a very bad thing.
This is why they don't have to pay taxes. This is why they get all the money they get goes into their private treasury, but they're supposed to use it for the community. And there's been a thing lately, and there's the Dollar Faith Ministries,
and the televangelist, and
there's a lot of churches that realized, oh, wait, we don't have to pay money and have taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars in buying jets and this and that and all the fucking other, right? But that's not what their purpose is. Their purpose is part of not just the religious, because let's be real, and I'm going to mention this story deliberately because this is at the basis of the religion in question, right? Or the main religion, I should say, for a lot of these churches who said no. There is a basis of, if you've never fucking read the Bible, you have, especially if you're in this country, you have heard of the baby Jesus story. I don't care where you are. They
run it every Christmas.
It's not even that. It's you could be under a rock and you would still hear about it because unfortunately we do have this dominating religion in our country. And so part of that basic story though is you have Mary and the baby Jesus with Joseph, no, not the baby daddy. And you have this whole concept that they went from inn to inn in this town, got rejected because they're poor, they have no money. And she's about to pop a baby out and none of the inns, but then one of the inns finally says, you know what, I have a manger, go in the dirty stable, totally hygienic for childbirth, right? And pop the baby out there and that's better than nothing, right? So they take it, and that part of the basis of that story and all of Jesus's teachings, which by the way a lot of these churches like to throw around, is that you need to take care of the mothers and the children, widows, the hungry, the poor. That's like the basic fucking
it's tenet. Like, why don't they get I'm just gonna say this because this aggravates me. They keep bringing up stories with Jesus and all that, and I keep saying from the beginning of the New Testament and even in several parts of the Old Testament, it's like they don't get the story. They hear the story, but they don't want to listen to it, and it's always no, we shouldn't. They said open your doors to the stranger to help people, feed children, all that, but instead it's like no, we must close the doors, give us tithe of which we will use to buy old pasture and jet instead of feeding people, especially hungry babies, which is what this discussion is actually about.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I've talked about this before, where there's a lot of churches who don't follow they don't follow the basic teachings, and I've talked about this before, where at one point I was homeless, so I was in a homeless shelter that was, of course, a lot of homeless shelters are religious, they're attached to churches. If you don't know this, now you know. And so part of that is if you are a homeless person and you're in these shelters, you have to get up at like 6 a.m. and go to the Bible reading, whether you're religious or not. You don't have a choice, which is kind of interesting if you think about separation of church and state, and they're supposed to help everybody without having requirements, but they do. A lot of them do. But needless to pushing that aside, when I lived there, one of the things that I found really interesting is one of the religious chicks who was a nun who helped with this homeless shelter, she talked about the fact that if Jesus were to pop up today, and this was, 10 or 15 years ago, he would not recognize a lot of his followings. He would not recognize a lot of his teachings. And she basically said, which I thought was very wise of her. And so this is what redeems me on Christianity a lot, is there are a lot of people in it who do try to follow the basic faith. And she basically talked about how, like, if Jesus came back, a lot of the people who want to swing out his name and say, oh, I'm very devout, I follow the teachings of Jesus, blah, 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 especially these churches, would not be, like, they would not accept him if he came back. Because Jesus was the guy, and she literally said this, Jesus was the guy to go hang out with the homeless, hang out with the prostitutes. She did say that, by the way.
And They all say that.
All the people who were not rich, who were not like based on wealth. And so taking that story and then what Crystal's talked about, you know, this brings us, and we're already 20 minutes in, man. We're coming to the story of the social experiment. So if you haven't heard about this, there is a user on TikTok by the name of Nikali who is fucking awesome, honestly. And I give her all the fucking credit.
I am so happy she did this. Actually, when you sent me the video, because the first videos you sent me when she was calling the churches, I have told you for days that I was a little stressed out because a certain vice president I feel is making a mockery of my religious beliefs. We're not getting into that again. And I've told you about that. When you sent me that video of her running the social experiment, it made me feel better because it showed the people, they just say hallelujah and pay tithes, but it also showed the people that actually believe and want to do something.
And so what's interesting about this experiment, if you don't know, we're up to, at last count, it was 40 so far, because I think she's had to stop it because now it's viral.
Yeah, it's over the country. There's no hiding it now.
Before she actually, it's over the world, honestly. Before she stopped, she had hit up 40 churches. Of those 40, Crystal, give me an idea before, and you know the number, you see it in the chat, but give me an idea of how many churches you would have thought would say yes.
To be honest, Mia, the number she gave was a little bit more than I thought it would be.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because if you've experienced any of some of these churches that say they're churches, that say they follow this, that, and the other, but then they show you that side, and I've seen it, where if you're not a member, you're not welcome.
Yeah,
because what's interesting is that
really sad because they make it so like unless you're a member and pay your tithes, then they won't help you. And that is not the point. You're supposed to help people no matter what.
And so the count we have today, it might be a little bit more, but she had called 40 churches. 9 said yes. Now, what was the question, you might ask? The question was baby formula, not money. And by the way, for all those pastors, you assholes, and I'm calling you assholes.
Yes, you guys are assholes. I'm not even going to protect you. Don't think it's because I'm a Christian I'm going to protect you. Because I'm a Christian, I'm calling you out. That was a real shit move.
Some of those pastors out there are now fucking lying and making videos trying to say that she was trying to scam the church. She was trying to ask for money. No. And by the way, there's fucking video proof. So I don't know how any of you have the audacity.
And also, Mia, I'm going to use this to make a point with these people talking about her trying to scam the church. Because several of those churches were saying, well, we encounter scammers and blah, blah, blah. My church, I'm saying this story really quick because you mentioned the scammers.
Hold the story.
Okay. I will tell you this story later.
Oh, yes. Hold the story.
She's always making me hold the story, people.
I know. Crystal's full of stories, and I knew you would be. So, but you got to hold the stories. So, what? And we'll get there. Okay. So, the question of this was, she called up these churches, and by the way, video evidence. So for every pastor trying to lie like a motherfucker, don't even try. Video evidence, baby.
Especially that dude who called her a witch. What is wrong with you?
We'll get to Baton Rouge, boy. We will. So she calls up these churches. Now, in the first 3 or 4 churches she called, she didn't have the sound. So she calls up these churches. She pretends to be a single parent. Well, she actually is a single parent. By the way, if you don't know who she is, or you've only heard a little bit about her, she is a lesbian. She is a vet of the American military. So yeah, okay. Checking all y'all trying to talk shit about her.
She actually care about the vet people.
She was a former stripper. She talks about how she's gone through a lot of life living, okay? And she's a single mom. She was a teenage mom, I believe. So, like, this is a woman who has dealt with a lot of shit in life, okay? And with SNAP, and this all started because, as we talked about this, actually, that SNAP benefits were getting stopped for November because fuck the government. And I'm not going to go on. If you want to see that discussion, it's in one of our last videos.
Yeah.
And so she started this experiment because she wanted to see, okay, SNAP is canceled. By the way, if you don't know this, if SNAP is canceled, so is WIC usually. WIC, by the way, is what mothers and newborns have access to usually for milk and formula and all that. Basically, the government gives you a voucher that says, here's your voucher for milk, baby formula, stuff that for babies and moms for feeding them, basically. And so anytime SNAP is down, down, so is WIC. If you don't know that, now you know. And so she basically was like, okay, this is going to be down for at least part of November. I'm going to call these churches because these are the people that are, in theory, supposed to feed the hungry and poor. And you would think a newborn child, right? Right. Okay. So
you would think.
Right. Well, I know for those of us who have had the experience, we wouldn't. But she calls up the first couple of churches. She doesn't have the sound recording. We'll talk about that too. So for the first couple of churches, she just calls them and says, look, I'm a single mom. I haven't been able to feed my kid formula in 2 days. And I really need, I need something. And I've tried to, and so basically she goes with the story of she's tried to call other places around and they couldn't help her. So that's why she's calling the church. They told her to call the church. So she starts with a few of the churches and immediately gets told. Now, I will say some of the churches who said no, and I give a few of them a little bit of grace, and I think so did she, is that some of the churches who said no did say, oh, what about this program or what about that program? Now, honestly, if somebody tells you on just a real quick side note, if somebody comes up to you and says, I have a hungry baby and I need to feed it, just fucking say yes. I don't know why this is a question. I don't even know why this is a hard answer.
I don't have money, but dang it, if you tell me a baby's starving, I will be going to the mat to figure out how to get some formula.
Yeah, I will find a way. So on a basic note, that's a hungry child. How we get to all the other stuff that the pastors and the churches have used as excuses, let's be real, that's all bullshit. Because at the end of the day, she didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for a credit card. She didn't ask for a donation. She didn't ask for anything other than one can of formula. And by the way, she even said, now there are parents in this condition who don't have access to transportation. But she even told them, she's like, oh no, I'll come to you. If you can help me, I'll find a way to come to you. And right off the bat, you had churches saying no. You had churches saying, oh, well, the place down the street can help you, right?
We don't do that kind of thing here. Exactly. Oh, are you one of our members? Oh, I'm sorry. We can't help you.
Oh, that was a legit quote from one of them. We'll get to Germantown, motherfuckers.
Yeah, Germantown. I'm disappointed.
Germantown, yo, you guys are about to be audited. Congratulations.
Yeah, let's go. We know we're mad at them.
Right. So then she adds the noise of a crying baby, which to me is like, and yeah, she did it deliberately. And so that's why they want to say, oh, look at how she's a scam. Look at how she's a fraud, because she's a trickster. One of them, Baton Rouge boy, called her a witch, right? So
yeah, I really like Mia. I think I told you a minute ago, but second I showed Baton Rouge boy to my family was visiting because I was telling them about Dory. Yeah. They all collectively got mad because they were like, what the heck? You're supposed to be a minister.
Right. And so she adds this baby noise because she's realizing that, because her videos not immediately went viral, but within like 3 or 4 days, her videos had started going viral. So she added the noise because, okay, what? And why does she add the baby crying noise? For authenticity, probably, but also to show that, something that's like a primal thing in anybody. You hear a baby crying, your first instinct is to be like, okay, where's the baby? Why are they crying? Because as a community, as social animals,
as a human freaking being,
even not even human, there are animals that if they hear a crying baby, they will go find it. They will try to find it, because that is an urge that I think humans and animals share of, if you're young or in trouble, what the fuck's going on? What's happening? Who do I have to beat?
We have to protect the baby.
Exactly.
Especially if you're an adult, your first instinct should be, when you hear crying baby, what's wrong? Do I need to protect the baby?
Do I need to protect? Do I need to help? That is usually the first urge. So she added it to add pressure, which I understand. Okay, I'll say this. I understand why the churches think they have an excuse to call her a scam. Well, she added.
Well, I don't understand why some of the churches think they have an excuse. In my opinion, you do not have an excuse.
They don't. But I get why they're like, well, look, she put a crying baby noise. Okay, yeah, but she did it to put pressure to see because she was doing a social experiment. Okay, now we get to, there is a positive side to this, and we will get to that shortly. But now is the scammer talk, Crystal, because
because there have been some certain people we've been waiting to talk about.
We have. We're getting there. So we will talk. I don't know. Do we talk about the churches that said yes first, or do we save that for the good bonus afterwards?
Let's talk about the scammers first and cool off with the churches that said yes, because we got to talk about Starbucks.
Oh, we'll get down there.
I know. Okay, so we need something to cool us off before we talk about Starbucks.
I know. We're already We're already going through, we're burning through time on this. So what it is that when it went viral, I believe it was like 20 something, 30 something churches. And out of the 30 something churches, 4 had said yes. And this is what's being quoted on the news because before it went viral, that was the number. It was like 30 to 4. And the 4 that said yes, and these are very notable, and we will talk about these in a few minutes, is the Heritage Church, I believe in Kentucky. You had a church, let's see. I have most of them listed. We have the Lady of Catholic Church in Tennessee, the Heritage Church, the Heritage Church in the Kentucky that has Appalachian Papa. We fucking love Appalachian Papa.
Yeah, Appalachian. Love Papa's response.
We ride at dawn for Appalachian Papa.
I'm gonna also put the names of all these churches in the bottom of the description.
Thank you. Because I have a list sort of, but I don't know if it's a full list.
When we get the full confirmation, because I think that's most of the list, but when we get the full confirmation after I edit, I'm going to put to everybody listening, I'm going to put it down below so you can, look these places up.
And so also there was the Lady of Hills Catholic Church in Columbia. I think that was one of the black churches that said yes. But it was very notable that out of the 30 churches she had called, the ICC, by the way, which is an Islamic mosque, they said yes. I think they were the first one to say yes. You had the Heritage Church in Kentucky that said yes. That's Appalachian Papa. We ride at dawn for him. There was a couple of the Catholic churches, and then there was the Portico story is actually a pro-life center. I think it's one of those centers where they try to persuade people not to have abortions, honestly, or smortions. Smortions before YouTube gets me. But they actually said yes too. So I will give them credit. I'm giving credit to anybody who said yes, whatever your backstory is, okay? You said yes, you deserve a fucking cookie. Now we get to the ones who said no.
Okay, let's get to these. Let's get to these people, so-called people of God.
So we have a very notable churches. So Germantown, is it Germantown Baptist? Those motherfuckers.
Germantown.
I know.
What were y'all? What was pastor of Germantown? What were you
Matt
thinking?
Brown.
His numbers apparently have already started to go down at his church when he was giving that speech about her social experiment being not a trick and that mess.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. A Buddhist temple said yes too.
Oh yes,
I don't want to forget
Thank you, Buddhist temple for being decent human beings and actually following your beliefs.
So Buddhist temple and a Hispanic church on top of the mosque, the Appalachian and the African American original churches. Yes, go on, Crystal.
Yeah, no, I was finished before you brought up the Buddhist temple.
Okay, so then we also have there were some major churches called, right? There was the Germantown, which is a massive church, right? And by the way, they talk about how she called various denominations and stuff. She called Baptist, she called Catholic, she called Episcopal, she called the Latter-day Saints Mormons.
Of course.
And she called all these places in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia. And then she started branching out to Denver, Phoenix, Kansas, all these, because she actually said, hey, if you want me to call your church, I'll call your church. So people started suggesting churches. And the First Baptist Church of Dallas, that's been rocked by various scandals, didn't say no, and that the church didn't have any programs to help. The Germantown Baptist one, I believe, is the one that, we'll talk about, I'll get back to Germantown. Then we had Bishop Raymond Johnson of the Baton Rouge's Living Faith Christian Church.
Oh, that guy.
Legit, they not only did they tell her no, but then when they started getting checked by their people, because then after this went viral, by the way, a lot of people, and this is not just Christians, in these comments, and I will say this is what restored kind of my faith in humanity. These comments were filled with atheists, agnostics, Baptists, Episcopalian, Mormons, Catholics, Presbyterians, Mormons, and you had a lot of Hinduists, Islamic, Buddhists. You had every faith in her comments enraged, first of all, that these bitches wouldn't feed a baby. But like all of them were coming together to be like, okay, we want to know who said yes and we want to know who said no. Because we all know churches don't have to pay taxes. And especially these big churches like Living Faith Christian Church. Well,
the ones who didn't have to say they weren't going to get any darn baby formula should have been taxed.
So Germantown was the one who said you had to be a member of their benevolence program. You had Bishop Raymond Johnson. That was Matt Brown, by the way. Bishop Raymond Johnson of the Living Faith, who called her a witch the next Sunday. You had several. You had Joel Osteen's church, which Crystal's going to talk about here in a minute, because Crystal's got
yeah,
some stuff
I
to
have
say.
a gripe with Mr. Osteen.
Joel, we'll do him last. So, and then she even called Charlie Kirk's church and the Living Dream or Dream Something church, and they said no. And then we get to Joel Osteen's church, which if you have not heard of Joel Osteen's church, you will hear in a minute, because Crystal will fill you in. But they also said no. Crystal, take it away.
Okay, let's talk about Joel Osteen, because I got a little backstory with him.
Okay.
Years ago, when I first got into college, my grandmother comes in my room and she's insisting I gotta listen to Joel. And she turns on his preaching. What he was saying, I didn't have a crime with. I just wasn't interested at the time, because I was watching The Simpsons and I didn't want to listen to this random preacher preach. But I listened to some of his others. I thought, well, he seems like an okay person.
Yeah.
Only to later find out he was a snake. Like, I believe it was a flood that hit Texas.
Yes, it was. It was
a
big flood.
Did not want to let people into his church because he didn't want to get the pews dirty. To which I said, what is the point of the church? Because a church is supposed to help people when they are in need, not be like, oh, I can't let you in. You dirty people will get all my precious little pews dirty. So
it's just terrible. And the thing is, Joel Osteen, by the way, isn't even the original person who started that. It was started by his dad, and he just took it over. And there's actually been, I believe, some sex scandals with that.
There have been sex scandals, money scandals, all of them.
That church is not anywhere near
actually believing what they preach.
Pretty much. So
because
like
with Joel, and that's why when I saw, because I found out, piece by piece, some of the videos Mia sent me, others I had found via looking for my own to learn more about her social experiment. But the second I've heard Joel Osteen's church said no, that was the probably main one that did not surprise me. It didn't even remotely faze me, because I was like, that man is greedy and he takes advantage of people. So I'm not surprised they said no.
The biggest notice of this is that you have Germantown, the West Germantown Baptist Church, and then Joel Osteen's church, and both of these are mega $1 million churches.
They got the jets, they got the fancy cars, but they don't have baby formula for desperate mothers.
Pastor Matt Brown has a $500,000 house. These men are not suffering.
But you ain't got no money for no formula for somebody desperate in need.
Crystal, you don't understand. $20 is a lot of money.
Oh yeah, $20, so much money.
So much money.
If he gives you that $20, then he can't fuel his jet.
I know, right? So that's the thing, is that's what stood out to a lot of people, is she was calling massive churches who have compounds, cars, jets. They literally have, I mean, let's talk about the Baptist, the Germantown Baptist Church. They have their budget is over $2 million. They have, and by the way, their budget that they put out last year was a pie chart, Crystal.
Oh, heaven help me, please.
So by the way, these churches are supposed to have an EIN number, right? You're supposed to be able to track their donations. Go ahead and look up Germantown. See what you find out. There's actually somebody, her name is Jennifer, I believe Jennifer Dennison. And give me a minute, I'll find her. Jennifer Dennison, I believe she's on TikTok. She started looking into the Germantown church. Oh, there she is. Jess Dennison. I'm sorry. Jess Dennison. She started looking into the Germantown church, and because she was like, wait a minute, this is a huge church. They have a compound. They got tons of money.
I think they also have a spa.
They do. They have
a child care center that's not open on the weekends.
Yeah, you're telling me. So she started investigating, because she's like, okay, you don't got $20 for a church. Like, let's talk about it. Like, I want to know what Germantown church, like, what do you need to know? Okay. She found out that their budget just for their staff is $2.4 million. 44% of their budget, Crystal, goes to paying the staff.
Yeah, let's spend all these millions on paying the staff. Let's not spend any money on feeding people.
And so what's interesting is Jess Dennison started looking into this church, and now they may end up audited by the IRS. Oh, by the way, they didn't have their EIN number, but after her videos came out, they fixed that real quick. But the thing is, the government doesn't demand that nonprofit churches give accountability, right? They're really more accountable to their members. And, you know, a lot of members, let's be real, of these churches are not holding them accountable for the money because they're trusting them. They're saying, okay, you're my pastor, you're my church, I'm going to trust you to follow the way of God. And, you know, use the money wisely. But what's interesting is, for example, let's look at, again, Germantown as my classic example right now. They put in for a $2.4 million use of their donors' money for renovations, quote unquote. By the way, 3 weeks after that, the pastor was able to buy a very nice $500,000 house, Crystal.
Oh, yay. He has a $500,000 house.
Yes.
Meanwhile, other people are starving and freezing in the street. And they probably could have allocated that to doing what Jimmy Carter did and building more homes for the homeless.
Well, and not even that. But then she started looking into, well, wait a minute. They put in for this 2.4. What did they renovate? By the way, they have some of these churches. I didn't even know this. Some of these churches have created their own insurance companies to cover damages to their churches. And so they supposedly had some damage that happened to their church, but they had their own insurance company that they created to cover it. But that's supposedly what some of the money, it was a whole fucking thing. So it's like all this has now come out of not just this church. There's a lot of churches that have huge $1,000 million budgets that couldn't afford $20 for a can of formula. And that's the thing.
Well,
so
formula is just so expensive.
Last Sunday, these churches were trying to do damage control. So Nicole got called a witch. She got called a scammer.
Also, we don't have anything. If you are a witch, we don't have anything against you. It's just he was using it in a negative way.
Now, let's be specific, because I'm, you know, part of my spiritual stuff is like paganism and Druidism. So trust and believe there is no witch hatred here. I love my Wiccans. I love my witches. Y'all are the best. And what was interesting is, I will say a funny side note is that a guy who watched these videos went to his local drug dealer gang or something in the neighborhood, and even they said they would give baby formula.
Well, yeah, you can depend on the dope boys to help you out if you need it. Ironically, the dope boys, yes, they damage the community, but they feel like they're balancing things out by helping people that are deep in need.
It's just wild to me that you have these churches that get so much money, and I guess they just thought they were never going to be held accountable, that nothing was ever going to happen because people give them blind faith. And what's beautiful about this experiment is that, oh, hold on 1 minute, you guys. All right. Thank you to our sponsor who doesn't give us anybody technical difficulties.
Yes, technical difficulties. You know, Mia's got a movie to see tonight. We're on a timer.
We are. We're trying, because I got date night tonight, okay? We're going to go see Now You See Me 3, and I'm ready for it. I need some fun in my life right now. So back to the churches. So in this, I think what really happened with the social experiment, just to summarize, is that you really saw what some of us already knew, right? Some of us knew that churches were not this pristine middleman who helps everybody. And a lot of times they don't. They claim they don't have resources, or the excuse right now that I heard a lot last Sunday popping out was, well, we've had scammers. We've had people trying to scam us.
That's the thing I wanted to comment on with that particular story. Okay, my church sponsors this charity, I can't remember the name of it, that helps keep people in their houses when, you know, people get desperate, they fall behind. The charity doesn't have a ton of money, but they're trying to help those who they can stay in their homes. And they're asking us for donations. And when the people asked for donations, they said point blank, and I've heard this at other times when they're asking for charity money, they said, yes, we have been tricked before. Yes, some people have scammed us, but we don't want to give, please, you know, join us. We don't want to give up because there are still a lot of people who need help. And that's my thing when you mention scammers. Yes, there are scammers, this, that, and the other thing, but you can't use that as an excuse not to help somebody.
Exactly. And I think what got to me, and I think what got to a lot of people, and we're going to talk about the good churches in a minute. So that'll cheer
Yeah, we're about
up,
to pull off of the good churches.
Yeah. So what really, I think this is part I was talking about, because I told people this actually was really not just, I mean, I wasn't enlightened because I kind of already knew this, but like what really made me happy was that after we had, she posted every single recording of her calling churches. Okay. And of the churches who said yes, she made sure to post those. Every church got posted with a screenshot of the church on Google. Okay. And so the churches that said yes, which was the Heritage one in the Appalachian Mountains, you had a traditional African American church, you had a Buddhist temple, you had the Islamic ICC mosque, you had, actually, I want to say I heard even the Satanic church said yes.
I wasn't surprised by that either.
Right. No, I wasn't. So it's like a lot of these places that people, because let's be real, there is a lot of racism in our country when it comes to not just African Americans, but especially Islamic. And especially after 9/11, a lot of people took the event that happened by horrible people and they blamed it on a culture. They blamed it on
which is wrong, people.
It is. And so it's like you blamed it on it, but then do you know anything about the Islamic faith? No. The Islamic faith has two books. They follow the Quran, and the other one, which I can't pronounce, that's my bad entirely. And it's really the second book, but I think the Quran actually addresses it too, is in the Islamic religion, they talk about how they treat their neighbors as good as they treat themselves. That's like a basic tenet. It's a basic tenet of every, it doesn't matter what faith you're in. A basic tenet is to treat others as you would want to be treated, the golden rule, right? And so what I really liked as some of the high points for me off this was not just, and we'll get to my papa in Appalachian, but was the fact that I think this really opened people's eyes to the fact that, okay, yes, Christianity is a very dominating religion. It has a lot of, out of Christianity, you have like 16 different religions, right? But
yeah, basically. Well, probably more than 16.
I know, but but I think one of the benefits of the social experiment is we saw a Buddhist temple, we saw an Islamic mosque who would have stepped up regardless because that's just how they are, but it opened people's eyes. And so you had people, I mean, and this is what I'm saying, I've never seen a comment section that really, and I'll say, warmed my heart. This made my day on a very like tough day I was having earlier this week when I was reading these comments, and you had people who were like, I'm an atheist and I fucking love these people. You had, Islamic people who were like, we're kind of confused why you thought they would say no to begin with, honestly. To
be honest, if they had said no, I'd be like, what the freak? That's weird.
Right? That's weird. And so it's like you had so many people in the comments of all different faiths who came out and were like, for the churches who said yes, who were like, this is what religion is supposed to be. Religion is supposed to be not just the middle guy. Religion is supposed to be there partly as a faith. You believe in something higher than yourself, whatever it is, whether it's all the pantheon of the Greek gods or one god, you have, or Buddhism or Hinduism, whatever your religion is, you have something you believe in, and you want to believe that the places where you go for those religions are going to back up the basic steps of the faith. And I think a lot of people were like me that were like, look at this place. They didn't ask her for explanations. They didn't say, are you a member? They said, how can we help you? One guy, and this is Appalachian Papa, okay? And this is why I've been mentioning Appalachian Papa. So this small church in Appalachian Mountains, I think it was at Tennessee or Kentucky.
It's a small church. They don't have a whole lot.
Love them. He literally said their annual budget for a year is $60,000 for a whole year. This man is like 80 years old. He's a great grandpa, which he mentions in the call. And she basically said, I try to call for places and help. I can't, if you could just give me a can of, because that's what she would go with, is a can of baby formula, please and thank you. I will come get it. Where do you need me to meet you? And he said yes. He was so cute. And this is why everybody fucking loves this guy. He was like, well, what flavor do you need? Because he's so cute. He don't know. He's just gonna try to ask all the questions to figure out how he can help her. And it was like,
I love it because as far as he was concerned, he didn't know it was an experiment. He was thinking, oh my goodness, this child is hungry. Let me go to the store and get that baby's preferred flavor of formula.
Exactly. And so the immediacy of some of these people saying yes and just how they acted. And what I love is then Nicole went back and called all these places who said yes, because these videos went viral. And when I say they went viral, I don't mean just in West. I mean, you had news media in other countries covering this. You had people, the Appalachian Church, Brother Dunbar is what they call him. His name's something Dunbar. And he got calls from Germany. He got calls from England. He got calls from people he couldn't even understand that were thanking him and leaving messages and donating money. And this church, so in particular, all the churches, by the way, who said yes, got money donated from everybody. All of these churches made, I'm not gonna, this is a conservative number just because I don't know I know one church in particular, but I don't know the others. All of the churches got at least $10,000 donated to them, at least, because the Islamic Church, one donation they got was for $10,000 because people were so impressed that they said yes. They didn't question. They didn't put this girl through a ringer. They didn't try to say, oh, you have to be a member. You gotta, castrate yourself on our steps and worship us first. They just said, what can I do to help? You have a hungry kid. What can I do to help?
Yeah, because many of these people believe faith alone is the point. No, you can't do faith without works. You can't just say, I believe, and then when the moment comes, be like, well, I'm sorry.
You fuck up and you fail. And what I love, especially about Appalachian Pawpaw, because he's so fucking adorable, he literally talked about, so on Sunday, he made a point to invite Nicole to his church because he saw a lot of what the other churches were saying about her. Because, by the way, there were people who go to these churches, pastors were obviously upset, who were trying to make her the bad guy.
How they can go cry in their golden limo.
How dare she trick us? How dare she scam us? You mean a woman who's called, and this was my point to somebody, because there was somebody who actually runs a charity, by the way, and I won't name them, I won't name the charity, but they were trying to defend the churches saying no, and they're like, oh no, I think this needed to happen, but I don't understand why people were mad at me for questioning her. And okay, but here's the thing. Okay, yes, she did a social experiment, but what about the mom of the single kid who hasn't been fed in 3 days, who got told? Some of these churches were telling her, oh, talk to us in a few weeks. The child hasn't been fed in 2 fucking days.
And babies, especially, Nia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have kids, but don't babies have to be fed every 6 hours?
At least, especially newborns. Yeah, no, you need to be feeding them constant. All they do for the first, 2 or 3 months is eat and sleep and other stuff. We'll just put other stuff.
Eat, sleep, and poopy.
Yep. That's all they do. So, some of these people telling her to come back in a few weeks. Oh, okay. Yeah, let her child starve for a few weeks. Excuse the absolute fuck out of me.
Excuse me as I try to tap down my rage. Because I don't have kids. But if you tell me you're about to let a baby starve and not even devote at least 10 cents to attempting to get that baby some formula or something, just I gotta hold my rage back. Because something, I'm gonna mention the churches that said yes, something I was happy about. The Catholic churches, I think, I forget which other church said that they were happy that she called them because it made them realize they don't have a program for baby formula.
Exactly.
And they're now building programs for baby formula, the diapers and everything.
Because they didn't realize.
They don't, you never know.
And what's interesting is a lot of these churches, a lot of these people were in the comments who were like, wait, baby formula is expensive? Who didn't realize? Oh, by the way, some of these churches wanted to be
everything is expensive, y'all.
Oh, yeah, no. But some of these churches want to be like, well, there's the WIC program. I don't have enough words.
With Tangerine Mussolini in office, don't expect WIC to have a whole lot. But even with that doesn't
exist. These people still have to. I've had WIC before. Do you think WIC covered everything? So, by the way, also especially with babies and formula specifically, let me talk about on a personal note. As a mom, as someone who's had 2 kids, my first kid was fine with breastfeeding. Okay, and YouTube, if you get me for that, whatever, fuck you. Basically, my first kid was was fine with breastfeeding, but my second kid actually had a hard time with it. And so I ended up like, I was going to his doctor. I didn't know what was going on. And, you know, as a single, and at the time I was, my ex was overseas. So I was basically a single parent with 2 kids, with 2 toddlers, a baby and a toddler. And I was literally in tears, and I had postpartum, didn't know it at the time. I was a wreck. I was legitimately a fucking mess of a person at that point. And I'm crying and I'm upset and I'm trying to find, because the kid can't, you know, isn't doing the breastfeeding thing, just it isn't working. And I wasn't having a lot of milk come out, probably because of the postpartum, whatever. And so I had to like take him to the doctor like 3 or 4 times in a week. And the doctor was like, no, you're gonna have to switch to baby formula, because if it's not working, but I was so like, I as a parent felt so ashamed and so upset, because I'm like, it worked just fine with the first one. Like, why isn't it working with this? Like, what is going on? And you as a parent, whether you choose to breastfeed and you can't, and that's why you have to do it, whatever reason you're doing baby formula, right? It's considered, there's a lot of shame with it. A lot of people don't fucking realize how much moms and parents in general go through, but especially moms, if you can't breastfeed your kid or something like that, you feel like the worst person ever, even though it's not your fault, because it's whatever's going on, right? But you feel like the worst fucking person ever. And then you to like not be able to have the money to feed your baby. And formula, what I loved about this was this opened a lot of people's eyes to how much money the baby market is. I used to joke when I was a younger parent, I should invest in fucking diapers, because the amount of money I spent on diapers, I was like, this is a commodity I should fucking invest in, because I'll make my money back. It's a sure
probably. Those little shits are always going to poop.
Right? So it's like, you don't realize baby formula starts at $22. Starts. That is the lowest price you can find it, which is fucking ridiculous to feed a baby. But that's because we have so much emphasis put on, oh, well, you should be able to do it. Why can't you do it? But for those motherfuckers out there, I hate that kind of shit. And so for a mom to have to call a church in the first place to be like, and yeah, this one time might not have been legitimate because she was doing a social experiment, but what about all the times before it? You think those churches said yes to those parents? Fuck no. So don't be trying to tell me, oh well.
Yeah, because there may have been other parents for the churches who said no.
Exactly. So anyways, for the churches who said yes, they got a lot of praise, a lot of money. This actually brought, I want to say, like, because me and Crystal, we tend to be on the progressive side. We are, a lot of times we see the fights that go down between progressives and conservatives. This was the one time where I saw comments that were filled with every political and religious spectrum who were all in agreement that every church that said no fucked up. And
which was nice to see, because I feel like the churches who choose not to help, if anything, I question if you even believe in the religion.
Yeah. And it's just, it was like, I know I needed a little bit of that faith in humanity, but I was just like, you know, look at the fact that you can hear a crying baby sound in the background and even say no. Like, first of all, she shouldn't have had to add the noise, but like on top,
I'm glad she did, though.
I'm glad she did too. But just, it was terrible. It was fucking terrible that these places said no. And I will say there were some places, I'm trying to give a tiny bit, like 10% grace, okay, that some of these places said no, but they said, hey, there's this program we work with there. And some of the churches said afterwards, you know, oh, well, we have this program, but it's through a different place. And that's where we give our money for the babies or something. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, you as the church is supposed to be the middleman between the poor and the government, right? You're supposed to be helping your communities, not just your members, not just, you know, the people who give you money. You're supposed to help everybody, because isn't that the teachings of your religion? So I'm glad that this happened. I'm glad the social experiment kind of showed that some of these churches are full of fucking shit. And I'm glad also, though, on the happy note, that there were churches, because one of the Appalachian Papa, fucking love him. He actually in his sermon talked about that, got like, and again, I'm not religious, but I still liked how he said it. He basically said, you know, God gave me this challenge. God said, are you going to help a baby? And of course, and he's like, I'm a great grandfather. Of course I'm going to help a baby. And he said, for those who said no, he's like, he basically looked at the other churches and said, you really need to question, because because he even mentioned, he's like, you're sitting here trying to blame this young lady for you saying no, but it's more he basically said, look at yourselves in the mirror. Because if you have just the gall to say no, okay, so yes, this time was not real. But what about all the other times that you said no? Do you think that those babies were able to get fed? Like, what if that parent suffered? What if those babies passed away? Like, you don't fucking know. So, like, you need to look at yourselves in the mirror and check yourself, because you are supposed to be representing this faith, whatever faith you're in, and the tenets follow. And this is my point. This was my point to all the videos that want to talk shit. Isn't the most basic story of most of the Christian religions about Mary and baby Jesus, right, in the manger? If
Yep.
like that, how many times is that shoved in my face every Christmas?
I don't know. They don't. Yeah, these people don't even understand why Jesus flipped over a table. You don't even belong to Christianity, and you understand fully why he was flipping over tables in the church, because it was about their greed and them collecting all that money, not about, actually feeding the poor, actually helping people in need. And, if you don't get the whole story with the manger, if you don't get the flipping tables and a bunch of other stories that we're talking about how you're supposed to help and not be greedy, maybe you need to start getting some more perspective in life.
Exactly. And I honestly think a lot of these churches that said no, especially the Megan $1 million ones, let's audit them.
Yes, and people also don't. I'm going to say this because I know somebody's going to be thinking this. To the Catholic churches that said yes, don't say, well, Catholic Church is rich. The Catholic Church, one, isn't as rich as people perceive it to be. But more importantly, it goes against the religion not to help. And I'm saying this because I know a few people will try to make that excuse saying, well, it's easy to say about this. And a lot of the other churches that said yes, like Papa's church, they are not rich, but they still were trying to do the right thing.
The tiniest church in his area. They literally, and this is what I was talking about the numbers earlier, and I forgot to mention this. His church runs on a budget of $60,000 a year. Because he said yes, $95,000 at last count 3 days ago had been donated to his church. The man has literally said he's going to pay for every Thanksgiving dinner he can for everybody in his community. And outside
that's so sweet.
He's looking at establishing places, at establishing help for outside his community, because he talked about how this kind of opened his eyes. He talked about, I didn't even know how much formula was. I didn't even know, because he was the one who was like, what flavor do you need? And he was like, I didn't even know that it's not really a flavor. That, like, he was so cute. And so he was talking about, he's like, all this money you've given me, I'm going to use it not just for my community, but for every single person I can or in this area. Like, anybody I can help, I'm going to do it. And he's like, I think he might even be trying to set up something like around the world or something. Like, I don't know around the world, but definitely something.
Well, a lot of the places that said yes, that they were looking to just try to do the best they could to even set up a thing for babies and to do more to help people. Because a lot of the churches that said yes, like Papa, they were all like, we want to, we've gotten blessings. They said they felt like her calling them, because they were telling her, we don't feel like this is, they felt like God had her do this to test them to see what they would do when, if it gets real. And they were grateful they got that test, because it opened their eyes that they can do more.
Exactly. And so one of the things I also, okay, sorry, the recording decided to randomly pause. I was saying, if you guys haven't checked out Nicole yet, please go check her out, because she's actually trying to start I don't know if it's a halfway house or sober house. She's actually someone she's trying to study to become a counselor, and she wants to do sober houses for people who have substance issues. And so, which I think is because she's gotten all this.
It is. That is a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, so she's trying to help people, because let's be real, some of the people who need the most help isn't just babies and moms, but like they need help, but also like people who have used substances, who have been addicted, who are trying to get away from it. It is so hard if you're poor to get help for that sometimes. Like even the programs in your area can only do so much. So like sober living, like if you're on the street and you're trying to do a program, it is hard to avoid the substances though, because that like the schmalcohol and all these kind of things are what keep you warm when it's fucking 10 degrees below. And people don't think about that. That's why there's a lot of and I'm not excusing substances, by the way, not at all. But for people who are addicted, let's do more places to help them. Like the whole point of having empathy, and that's why we put this title as The Quest for Empathy, Baby Formula, and Bear Cubs will come in a few minutes, is because of the fact that, it's really easy to not have empathy because we all have tough times right now. But I think it's important to realize that, like, you need to have some kind of empathy, because if everybody stops helping people, if everybody just decides I'm only going to help myself, that leaves the vulnerable people in our society to suffer. The single parent.
Yeah, and then what's the point if you're just going to let people suffer?
Like, what are we even doing here on planet Earth? Like, if you can't even if you can't help the person next to you, then what point? Why are we even trying to have society? If you can't help somebody who is worse off, like, why do we have society? We should just disband society then. Because
if you can't help somebody, then I guess the whole point of society is just to buy some stupid bear cups from a major corporation. And yes, I'm trying to transition to our next topic.
Let's transition, Crystal. I'm there with you. Okay, so
I think we covered everything with the social experiment.
We're gonna pause for a minute. There's gonna be a little ad here, some fun stuff, advertising our stuff, and then we're gonna come back with bear cups.
Bear cups.
Here, I'm gonna pause for a minute, you guys. Pause.
To protect what a person loves most, sometimes they have to hide it or them. Sadly, not all secrets get to remain secret forever. Realms, the Hidden Fairy, available now.
All right, welcome back, you guys. We took a little bit of a pause. You saw some fun ads, and we're done discussing religion.
Yeah, we're done discussing religion for now, but this will be a topic that comes back on the channel.
This is the religion of coffee, Crystal. So technically,
yes, all hail the coffee bean. Specifically Starbucks, you evil corporation.
Right. So here we enter Starbucks. Just come ahead and enter the chat. Enter our chat, because let's talk. First of all, I will be honest. I am biased. Let me put my bias up front. I am a Dutch Brothers girl. If you don't know anything about it, I live in the West Coast where Dutch Brothers was started. And Dutch Brothers and Starbucks have kind of a war over here. Dutch Brothers, by the way, is always better. Just fucking end of subject. I'm not going to fight.
Mia, I will take your word for it. I never even heard of Dutch Brothers till you said it seconds ago.
Visit me, Crystal. I will take you to the Dutch Brothers.
That's fine.
There is Dutch Bros Army.
I want to visit you eventually.
Yeah, you have to, because you have to bring me fucking chocolate. Okay. I won't get started. I have to take a breath. I'm still waiting on chocolate, people. Fill those comments. Tell Crystal to bring the chocolate.
Well, speaking of chocolate, she doesn't mean like me bringing her chocolate in general. She wants me to fly to Ghana and get her some chocolate from Ghanaian chocolatiers.
I want chocolate. Anyway, sorry. Before we get off, I won't.
Anyway, we're talking about coffee, not chocolate.
So anyways, if you haven't heard, and this is where supply and demand come up. Starbucks came up with, and I want Crystal to flash this picture, okay? Starbucks came up with, and I put that in quotation marks because these mofos just literally stole a honey container and made it into a cup.
Actually, Mia, a little bit of history with that cup. Apparently, they've been selling these bear cups overseas for years, and they even have different varieties of the bear cup. Like, it's the same cup. They just changed the hat.
Well, here's a fun story. This honey company has been going for years making this container. So there's a little honey bear container, right? And I remember it as a kid. It was like the best thing ever. Because by the way, honey's fucking expensive.
They still have them in the stores, I believe.
They do. Oh, they're still in the stores. But I remember as a kid that when you got that bear. When you saw that bear honey container, you were like, your day was made. You would get some snacks with some peanut butter and honey if you've never tasted it. Trust me, it's the best snack ever. You could dip some celery in that. You could dip an apple in that. It was the best shit ever, okay? Best snack, especially if you lived in a household of healthy food person. It was tough to get a good snack, okay? So honey peanut butter was a good snack for me.
I've only had honey apple.
Oh no, you should have honey peanut. Oh, so good. Honey peanut butter is the best shit, okay? So, and I remember I have a special childhood fondness with these bear containers. So I saw this announcement where Starbucks announced they were gonna, for a limited time, limited edition, they were gonna release these glass bear cups. And the amount of viral was the same as when Coca-Cola did their polar bear shit with their glass cups at McDonald's in the 90s.
I forgot about that.
You forgot. I did not. So I remember being the kid who was like, I want one of those Coca-Cola cups with the polar bears on it, and it's glass and it's really nice. And I never got one because they were always out.
Whenever I saw a commercial of Coke, I just wanted a Coke. I didn't really give a damn about what plush they were advertising.
The polar bears?
Crystal, I like the polar bears, but I wanted a Coke. The polar bears just made me want to drink a Coca-Cola.
Bears. Me and Crystal are going to fight about polar bears later. So anyways, so Starbucks. So by the way, let's be real. I want to talk for a minute, and I think Crystal might agree with me on this, is that let's be real that Starbucks has been involved in a lot of shit lately.
They have, like they're union busting and treating their employees like shit.
Yeah. So they totally did this. I'm going to be real up front. I think I completely believe 100,000,000% they did this bear shit shenanigans so that they could divert the attention away from how they treat their people and the fact that they're doing some shady ass shit behind the scenes. Okay. They totally, with that said, they go ahead, they promote the fuck out of these bear cups. So people line up because they're going to have a limited release, early release or whatever. Was it last weekend, Crystal? When was it?
I think it was last weekend. Either way, it's like usually when you hear a limited release, you line up early in the morning, because I've only lined up and it wasn't for a limited release once years ago for a video game. Yeah. Because they were talking about, oh, there won't be enough. But the company made sure to send more than enough.
Yeah, well,
but Starbucks, unfortunately, is worse than Nintendo.
Well, Starbucks did it. So if you don't know, Starbucks says we're going to have a limited release, and people lined up. I saw a lot of the videos. People were lined up at like 12 a.m. People were there. Some of these places, people were lined up from the time they closed the day before. People had, and this was freezing weather in a lot of these places, right? Because we're getting to winter now. So there were people camped out for a whole fucking night to get these bear cups. And then what?
Yeah. My hat's off to y'all, because I will never do that.
Oh, never ever. So then what happened is so the Starbucks employees come in, and what I heard is a lot of these places had lines, but people were like, yeah, no, let's let them in, let them go do stuff. We're not going to hinder them in any way. They were being the nicest lined up people, not like Harry Potter lineups. They were being the nicest lineups ever. Okay. So what happened?
Yes, my mom almost got in a fight in the Harry Potter lineup. Anyway, continue. I'll tell you the story another day.
Okay, so what happened was Starbucks employees, and if you don't know this, I don't know why you don't know this, but a lot of people, I guess, didn't know this. Starbucks employees get first dibs on stuff that comes in when they come into work, and a lot of them knew about these cups coming in. Well, Starbucks, so when we talk about the story, I am firmly blaming Starbucks Corporation. I'm not blaming the employees. A lot of people were pissed at the employees. I'm not, because these people work minimum wage jobs. Of course they should get first dibs on shit. They barely get a free coffee from fucking Starbucks. Are you for real? They deserve to get all the shit. But what happened was Starbucks corporate, and I'm not kidding when I say this, a lot of locations were only sent between 1 and 5 cups. 1 and 5. So some of these locations,
yeah. Not 6 though, but that was as math.
Yeah, well, people had lined up since the night before, and there was at least 4 videos I saw where people were livid because Starbucks employees had gone in, immediately gone to get dibs on their cup, and I think they knew that they probably assumed Starbucks was going to send them more, but they put it in the bag. So then people got in out of the cold in these lines, went to where the Starbucks employees went to, and there was maybe 1 cup left, or in 3 of the videos,
or no cups.
0 cups. 0.
Or Hello Kitty product. Also, there was a thing going on with Hello Kitty too. They had Hello Kitty barista cup and a Hello Kitty barista plushie, but those were gone too.
What was funny is actually what I heard is there was more Hello Kitty stuff stuff because people really wanted.
Yeah, most locations have Hello Kitty stuff than the bear thing, but some of them the employees did buy them up.
Well, Starbucks literally said, like, they promoted the fuck out of these bear cups, right? They promoted it so fucking much because they wanted it to go viral. They wanted those headlines, but I don't think they realized the headlines they were going to get because a lot of people were like, wait a minute, you sent 2 cups to a massive location. Like, one of the locations is a massive location that feeds like half of Los Angeles got 2 cups that were then, so the first person in line got 1 cup. The barista got the other cup. There were no more cups left and people were pissed.
You know, Mia, Starbucks has legitimized more of my reasons of why I've been breaking up with them because you saw my videos where I'm showing making fancy coffees for cheaper because I'm breaking up with Starbucks. I don't want to give them any more of my money.
Oh, I've been doing it for years because I love Dutch Brothers, but it's so expensive to buy shit. So I just do my own coffee. But it's really interesting just because a lot of people were livid. So a lot of people were going off like, well, how dare baristas get first dibs and freaking out? And then what happens? Supply and demand. So then some of these, I won't say it was the baristas. It was some people, whoever got some of these cups. Then they put them, where did they put them? Crystal has this part. She got this part down.
Oh, I got it down. So people were like, oh, I need that cup. Oh, I need that cup. I looked up the cup because I was curious because, you know, let's be honest, Mia. We both know right now, people, Starbucks has announced that they're getting some more. They got more of the cups in and stuff like that.
Well,
by the time we're at the end of the holiday, they'll have tons of them. But that's this is the thing because I sent Mia this as soon as we were talking about this story because I was looking at the cups and I'm like, $33 for a bear cup. And, you know, it's not the good double pane glass that you usually get with the good cups. It's a thinner glass. So I was like, well, screw this. They said they had a cheaper cup at TJ Maxx, and the TJ Maxx cup looked cute. And I was like, let me get that because it's cheaper. I couldn't find it. It's sold out. But I found a cheaper cup for $10. And then I found a dupe version of the bear cup for, I think, $11. Yeah, $11.
Yeah.
On TikTok shop. And I'm like, I'll get these 2 things. Then I can have 2 bear cups for dramatically under, well, not dramatically, but still under what all these people paid for one.
Yeah. Well, and so the thing is that it was literally, I mean, Starbucks could have sent more cups. You know it. I know it. We all fucking know it.
We all
know. They wanted to build up the hype. They wanted to profit off of.
My brother was like, when I was buying the Duke cup and stuff, he was like, why don't you just wait till the end of December? Because, you know, they'll probably have a ton in and you can just go walk in and grab one. I was like, nah, I don't want to pay $33. Because, you know, there'll be tons.
Right. So it's just like, it's just funny to me because having taken marketing classes, obviously Starbucks did this to build up the hype and make the money. Well, you made the money, but I think what it really pointed out is that they were so focused on making the money and making the hype that they didn't really consider like how it would look that like you send one cup to some of these huge locations and then you wonder why people are going to be so of course Starbucks was real quick to be like, oh, we're so sorry, we'll definitely get more out, we promise. But it's like they're fucking loving it, they're making money off the promotion shit.
They did this mess on purpose because they knew people were going to make their little TikTok videos and be like, oh, blah blah blah. But one thing I will point out that aggravates me with the story is all these people, there was a response by people who couldn't buy the bear cup to get a honey cup, empty out all the honey and have the baristas fill it up. And something I learned is these baristas are actually on a bit of a timer because if they don't get so many people in, their managers are going to yell at them. And I learned when people are doing that, it causes the baristas a lot of trouble because they're trying to be nice and accommodating most of the time, but it causes them trouble. I also learned that this is similar to a different challenge thing that happened at Starbucks some time ago where they had people take their small pumpkins in and they were making TikToks of bringing small pumpkins they hollowed out over to Starbucks and say, fill her up with a pumpkin spice coffee. And that's inconvenient to a barista. I saw these teenagers, one of the baristas was a little annoyed she had to do it, but then she asked them if she could take a picture of the pumpkin. They're like, no, you were rude and stuff. No, we're not gonna take a picture of the pumpkin. But to which I said, y'all were ruder. One, she had to hurry and do this. I don't mind that she asked for a picture and had a little bit of an attitude because y'all could get her in trouble. And that's the main thing. Even if the company knows people are doing this and they tell the barista to just accommodate them, you could get this person in trouble at their job. So
and my thing is,
worth all this hype.
everybody getting, well, Well, what I love is there were people who are like, wait a minute, you're freaking out over a bear cup. Meanwhile, people are going hungry in November. Like,
yeah, that's true. Isn't starvation more important than a coffee fix in a cheap mug?
Right. And so the thing is, what got me were the people who were upset at the baristas. And I'm like, these people are getting paid barely minimum wage. Like, and they have to deal with so much abuse. Like, people don't realize when you are in a customer service job where you have to you have to help tons of people, you have to deal with their attitudes, and in our society you have to do it with a forced smile, right? And the least they could get access to was some of the cool shit that comes out, and you're gonna sit there like, well, how dare those baristas get the one cup? No, look at the fucking corporation. Why?
How dare Starbucks barely send out any damn cups? Because the problem here isn't the baristas. The problem is Starbucks not sending out enough cups on purpose.
They have warehouses filled with these things. You cannot tell me they couldn't have sent one box to each of these
they charge $33, but I know they're making that cup for pennies on the dollar.
Right? And they sent some of the, I'm not kidding, the amount of videos I saw with 1 or 2 cups, are you for real, Starbucks? Like, they did it deliberately. They did it deliberately to hype it up. They wanted that rush. They wanted that supply and demand. And they were okay if they made people upset and unhappy. But what it really did to me was that there were then people who felt justified in abusing customer service staff because, well, they got the cup before me and I waited all night. Okay, first of all, it was your choice to wait up all night. You want to freeze your ass off, that's on you, baby. But like, also blaming the poor barista who's probably a college person, maybe even an older person trying to go back in the field. Like, who knows who the fuck their life is, what kind of hardships they're dealing with. For you to go after them because they got the limited promotional thing that Starbucks has fucking warehouses full of. No, go after the corporation. Fucking stick it to Starbucks. Tell them that you don't want their stupid fucking bear cups, which, by the way, I stand on my hill that those are basically just the honey containers from the bear company that fucking put that shit out. They just literally stole a design and stuck it on a glass jug. Let's be real.
Yeah, I don't even really doubt you on that because it looks so much like the plastic honey bear.
I sent it. I sent the picture to Crystal because we were talking about this earlier before we aired, before we're doing the podcast. And I was like, this is the same fucking container of honey that again, childhood happy feelings from my childhood. You cannot tell me it's the same fucking container. They literally took, and a lot of people don't look at it closely, so you wouldn't realize it's basically the same fucking outline. Honestly, that honey company could sue Starbucks. That's how close it is.
They might be, for all we know.
Oh, I doubt it. Starbucks probably paid them off, but it's a whole
maybe actually Starbucks is suing the company that made the dupe cups, like the one I told you I bought.
Oh yeah. So then there's also a bunch of dupe. So the side thing is, lots of people were like, "Oh, I can make money, right?" So they made these half-ass dupe cups. And sold them on TikTok and everywhere else. It was great.
I kind of like the dupe cup more better than the Starbucks cup because it doesn't have that logo on it.
I say more power to them. Do it out there. So for everybody screaming about it, you guys, it's literally November. People are going hungry. They're just now in the next month or so going to get SNAP benefits. And even then it's going to be lessened because they're cutting all of them. For real.
Yeah, they're actually forcing some people to reapply.
But also, I am the same person who will say that if I see a special edition book coming out, I might line up at like midnight the day before. I'm not going to lie. I might do that. But it's a book.
Yeah, I'm never going to have you have to wait in the cold for one of my special edition books.
I better not. I better be able to line up in front and just come over.
Yeah, and you better extend that same courtesy to me.
Of course. You will get, trust me. I'll be like, I'm sorry. VIP up front. Crystal gets up front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I better get the VIP treatment.
Well, you know what? When you get that VIP treatment, I better be seeing my bar of chocolate. That's what I better see. That's what, you know what really matters right now, you guys? Let's talk about what really matters. Chocolate.
Oh my goodness, Mia.
Okay, I'm lying. But still, I'm just saying, I'm waiting for my chocolate. It's been 10 years.
It has been 10 years. It ironically has been 4 months, and it's still in the top of my refrigerator.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think I'm very special. My timeline is fast.
Your timeline is extremely special considering I only met you a year ago.
Look, I don't want to hear it. It was 10 years.
We have not known each other.
It was 10 years. 10 years ago, I was promised chocolate.
By who? Because it sure as that wasn't me.
It was you. You promised me chocolate. I didn't get
How
my
did I
chocolate.
know what you talking? 10 years ago, I was terrified of TikTok.
I'm just saying, chocolate. Anyways, you guys, as you can tell, we're losing it now.
Yeah,
So,
we're losing the point. The point
we're
is
losing
the bear cups are not that special. The
They're
cup
not.
that Mia was fussing about a minute ago is actually more important than the stupid bear cup.
Right. Okay. So today's summary, well, I'll summarize for everybody. Churches who said no to baby formula for a hungry baby parent, I don't care, real fake, fuck off. You're terrible people.
And I'm
churches who
saying
said
fuck off
yes.
churches who deny baby formula because you clearly don't believe in the faith.
And then for all the churches who said yes, we love you, please adopt us. And then for Starbucks, come on, you guys, come on, stop being mean to people.
Starbucks, that's
give
just
the fucking
mean.
cup.
And people buying into Starbucks is crap, y'all. It's not
Right.
worth it.
Go touch grass.
Go
So
touch
anyways-
grass. You know, you could go and buy a very nice glass teddy bear bottle literally
Right.
anywhere else for cheaper and fix your coffee and stuff or turn into a decoration.
Or
Starbucks
get-
is cheap and worth it.
Or get the bear bottle of honey that's like $6 in the store and bam, add a straw to it.
And everybody who
Congratulations.
does do that, please don't go to Starbucks and demand that the
But
barista fill
actually
it up.
send me pictures because I want to see pictures. So
Go and get a coffee and fill it up yourself. That barista's on a
Right.
timer.
right. Okay, you guys. So thank you for coming to our first social media blitz post. And our next episode is going to be a book talk one. It's going to be a little bit of a doozy. It's going to be authors behaving badly part 3, 4, 5. It's one of those. Because we have an author who has been doing this actually for a few years and has gotten away with it. And yeah, we're going to talk about it because I'm sorry. I'll just say this to give you a little tease for it. She's basically been abusing her PAs and promising people books and then not delivering and basically just taking their money. and keeping
This
it.
report, y'all, is going to be a doozy because when I heard about it, I was like, what?
Yeah, it's been under, and the thing is, some people have been talking about it for the last year and have just gotten, because Sephora has you didn't hear, cut that, Crystal, you didn't hear nothing. Crystal's gonna cut it.
Note to future me, cut whatever the heck Mia just said.
Right, cut it. For the author who did this, and yes, we will be naming names. It's not okay. It's not okay to be a naughty author. And it's what's interesting, just as a quick side note, I was seeing people talk about like, oh, we have to support each other, we have to be a better community, and I fully agree. But also, if you're an author who's behaving this badly, you deserve to be called out. I'm sorry. If I or Crystal were abusing PAs, not delivering out on books, not doing what the fuck we're supposed to be doing, the basic shit we're supposed to be doing, and we were like almost indie mainstream. This person's basically indie mainstream. And
we would be having our feet held to the fire, hon.
Yes. And so this is not, and then by the way, this doesn't include the slandering of companies. This doesn't include all the shit talking she's done. It's not okay. And so here's my thing is that yes, we can support each other and we can support Book Talk, and I am all the fuck about it, and I am always here to ride for my people. Not even my people, I ride for fucking everybody. I don't care who you are. First time author, step on up. Let's fucking put your ass up there. First time narrator, let's fucking do this. First time editor, I am here to support my Book Talk community all the fucking time.
We are throwing out all the support. And also, Mia, you have date night, so we should be wrapping this up.
I know. So just to summarize though, if you're going to behave badly in the Book Talk community, you deserve to be called out. And for anybody trying to excuse that behavior, it's not okay. And that's why I say Book Talk as a whole is fucking awesome. Some of the people in it though need to be smacked. Okay, I'm over. I'm done. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for getting through this episode of Empathy, Baby Formula, and Bears. And we hope you have a wonderful weekend. Love and adore you. Please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment, any comment. We love the comments. And we will see you next week.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Bye.